MigNews.com, article published on November 9, 2025, at 6:17 a.m., by Arkady Bocharovsky, The Collapse of a Dream. Thousands of Israelis ready to leave Canada. Part 1. The Globe's published an article about the collapse of the Canadian dream. For many Israelis, we're just packing our bags right now. Those who are coming here now are making, in my opinion, a terrible mistake. There's nothing to look for here. It's not worth it. Canada isn't worth the effort, say those returning. It's better to think about another country. Everyone here has gone crazy. For many years, Canada was a cherished dream. A beautiful, vast country with a small population, an excellent education system, a vibrant Israeli and Jewish community, and friendly, polite locals perceived as well-mannered, unarmed Americans. Furthermore, about 2 years ago, the Canadian government began issuing special visas for Israelis and Gazans. It was called a respite from war. In Israel, the earth trembled, as many sought permanent or temporary options for life abroad. A 3-year work visa, at a time when the United States had become less welcoming to immigrants, seemed more enticing than ever. Yoni Goldstein, communications director at UJA in Toronto, an organization uniting Jews in the city and surrounding areas, says that before the war, the number of Israelis in the region was estimated at approximately 80,000. With an average annual increase of 1,500, limited by the number of work visas issued by the government. Since the beginning of the war, this number has tripled, and in the last 2 years, 5,000 to 6,000 Israelis have joined Toronto and the surrounding area. However, a series of domestic social and political changes, compounded by rising anti-Semitism, shattered this dream. The consequences were immediate, and now a new wave is growing, Israelis eager to return. According to Goldstein, only about 60% to 70% of those who arrived have stayed. What happened to the Israeli-Canadian dream? The painful clash of Israelis with Canadian reality is characterized by 4 factors: logistical and bureaucratic challenges, anti-Semitism and anti-Israel sentiment, changes within Canada itself, and a profound cultural disconnect between the two countries. And then there's the cold. But it's always been there. Of course. There are those who are still satisfied with the nature, the quiet, the reasonable work hours, the economic opportunities, the personal security, and the deep connection to the community, but the voices of dissatisfaction are growing louder. Tens of thousands of Israelis are beginning to consider returning. Grace Michaeli, owner of Dr. English, a translation and content services company, says, many Israelis don't realize that they are immigrants, even if they are Western, even if they are educated. But still immigrants. They're surprised that their credit score is already low until they prove their solvency, or that they're not given health insurance immediately upon arrival and have to pay $300 a month for private insurance. That's immigration. People were deluded. They didn't know what they were getting into. Immigration consultant Svetlana Dem, owner and manager of Lana Canada, commented on the thorny path an Israeli immigrant with a war gap visa must endure. It's a very strange visa. You have to be physically present in Canada to get it. But you can't work until you get it. The application process to receive the visa can take up to 6 months. During this time, leaving Canada is also prohibited. Those who didn't know about this and left during the application process were rejected and essentially ruined their chances of immigrating to Canada in the future. And while Israelis sit in Canada, waiting for documents, unemployed, their savings are dwindling. As for health insurance and the public education system, they are also only available to those who work. Canada's relatively liberal immigration policy has proven a double-edged sword for Israelis. During Justin Trudeau's tenure as Prime Minister, Canada has accepted about 1 million immigrants out of a population of 40 million, of whom about 2% are Muslim, compared to about 1% Israeli. This affects both relations with Israel and Canadians' overall attitudes toward immigrants. After October 7th, there was a very noticeable change in Canada's Muslim community, says Einav Levin. Before, we saw them struggling to assimilate into Canadian culture, barely speaking Arabic. Apart from their clothing, you couldn't tell they were Muslim. Their mosques were in ordinary apartments. But since then, the change has become obvious. They speak only Arabic and loudly, hold demonstrations, and emphasize their differences. Before the war, I always hoped to get into an Uber with a Muslim driver to share experiences. Now, I don't even say where I'm from. Since the start of the War of Iron Swords, Canada's Jewish community has been the target of a wave of hate attacks, something previously unthinkable.